And so it comes all the way back to hope again, but not hope like a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch, feeling lucky. Hope like an axe you break down doors with in an emergency. And there are reasons for hope, so be inspired. Overall, a majority of U.S. adults describe climate change as a major threat to the country's well-being. Doesn't sound so inspiring?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You can't fix something that folks don't see as broken. More people in the United States and across the world are waking up to the climate reality. And it's young folks who are leading the way. It's depressing that I'm old enough to talk about young folks, but it's inspiring to see them mobilizing all across the world. In Central and South America, in Africa, in Europe, the Middle East, in Asia, and across the United States. 400,000 people marched in New York City in the People's Climate March to advocate for global action against climate change. It was the largest environmental protest in history. All around the world, there are inspiring signs of change. In 2022, electric power generation from renewable resources in the U.S. surpassed coal-fired generation for the first time. And it's predicted to become the world's top source of electricity by 2025. A record 1.2 million vehicle buyers in the United States chose to go electric last year. Electric vehicles were just 5.9% of the total vehicle market in 2022, growing to 7.6% last year, and expected to grow to 10% this year. Of course, we already know that more than 200 financial institutions have announced that they'll no longer fund coal-fired power plants. And more than 400 global companies have committed to going 100% renewable. As of 2020, 65 of those companies were using over 90% renewable electricity, and 53 had already reached their goal of 100% renewable. People across the world are creating more sustainable communities. Here's just one inspiring story. In Cleveland, a 15-acre piece of land that was once an illegal dumping ground was transformed by the local community into acres of farmland that supports a green kitchen, cafe, and farmer's market.
The word I like to tell everybody, it just feels like an oasis in the middle of the hood.
It's now home to 2 greenhouses, 6 large hoop houses for growing vegetables, and an aquaponics tilapia farm that sells and supplies fish to minority chefs and restaurants. They also offer a variety of training and apprentice programs for community members. The mission of the Rid-All Green Partnership is to provide fresh food and environmental education to urban residents. But according to one co-founder, its ultimate vision is much bigger. It's all about transformation, he said. We're in the soil-making business, and we take old trash and food waste and turn it into black gold soil that we sell at a premium. If we can do that with soil, we believe we can do it with people, with communities. We can do it with neighborhoods, because it's so much more than just about growing food. It's about engaging the community and getting people living again, getting healthy and interacting again. More private and public institutions are also taking a stand to stop investments in polluting fossil fuels. Since 2010, roughly 1,500 institutions with assets over $40 trillion have committed to divest from fossil fuels. From for-profit corporations to healthcare institutions to governments, philanthropic foundations, pension funds, and more. Faith-based organizations have led the way. 42 faith-based organizations from 14 countries, and with combined total assets of more than $1.2 billion, announced a multi-million-dollar divestment from fossil fuel companies in 2022. The announcement was made in Rome at a Vatican-sponsored celebration. And more than 140 U.S. higher education institutions have divested their endowments from companies that hold fossil fuel reserves. Here are just a few. Harvard University is on that list. They boast the country's largest endowment of over $41 billion and announced in 2021 that they'll stop investing in fossil fuels. Governments across the world are also taking more bold action. Taiwan announced a blanket ban on all plastic bags, containers, cups, straws, and utensils to be phased in and fully implemented by 2030. It was, at the time, the farthest-reaching ban on plastic in the world. They've already phased out all plastic straws and cups. England soon followed with an even more aggressive ban. A new ban that prohibits single-use plastic from being provided or sold to consumers went into effect on October of 2023. France recently passed a bill to ban short-haul flights that take less than 2.5 hours by train. In India, they planted 220 million trees in just one day in 2019 in a government campaign to combat climate change. And just this last November of 2023, the Kenyan government declared a special holiday, giving people a workday off to plant 100 million trees. It's part of the government's goal to plant 15 billion trees in 10 years, and to increase the country's total percentage of tree cover from 7% to more than 10%.
Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been voted in as Brazil's next president.
In early 2022, Brazil elected a new president focused on transforming the country into a green superpower. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is a sharp contrast to his predecessor, under which the rate of Amazon deforestation was at its highest in a decade.
Relieved, not only for the Brazilian people, but for the whole planet, for the Amazon.
Under the policies of their new president, there's been a 68% reduction in deforestation in the Amazon from April 2022 to April 2023.
In a stunning electoral victory in Australia, a Green Labour coalition has overturned a decade of conservative rule in an election driven largely by concern over the climate emergency.
Climate change was one of the most hotly debated issues in the Australian general election of May 2022. 9 years under a coal and fossil fuel-friendly administration was ended with the election of a climate-friendly coalition. The new government has since passed a law with a very ambitious greenhouse gas reduction target of 43% by 2030 to fulfill a key election pledge.
There is a change of government. There will be some changes in policy, particularly with regard to climate change.
Of course, that same year, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act here in the United States, the most ambitious investment in combating the climate crisis in the country and the world. 81% of the global carbon emissions in the world are from countries that have set a goal of net zero emissions. It's a hopeful indicator of the future to come. And in more good news, the climate crisis has spurred innovation in a race for promising new climate and sustainability solutions. Here are 10 fun ones to inspire you. Number 1, drones that plant trees. Elon Musk recently tweeted that he would donate $100 million toward the best idea for pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. The backlash was brutal. The answer people responded is trees. Duh. Elon was looking for a tech solution to a problem nature can solve. A UK-based company, Dendra Systems, is using drones to spray tree seeds throughout ravaged forests, planting up to 1 billion trees per year. There are similar startups in Australia, Canada, and the United States. Number 2, recycling plastic into building material. When Kenyan entrepreneur Nzambi Mati launched Gajenge Makers, she was thinking of a solution to the plastic pollution problem in her country.
Plastic waste is not just a Kenya problem, it's not a Nairobi problem, it's a worldwide problem. And so if we can figure out how to solve it in our locale, then it's easy to replicate that solution to maybe to start to the East Africa region, and then to the greater part of the world.
Her business takes plastic waste that can no longer be recycled by other factories and transforms them into bricks that are 5 to 7 times stronger than concrete. Gajenge manufactures an aesthetically pleasing, economically accessible, and environmentally sustainable alternative to plastic building materials. Now Nzambi employs 112 people from marginalized communities as plastic pickers. Her factory can produce 1,500 bricks and recycle over 1,000 pounds of plastic waste a day. You go, girl. Number 3, a seaweed-based plastic alternative. Notpla, short for Not Plastic, is a startup in London making a plastic alternative from seaweed and plants. It's a totally natural and biodegradable alternative to plastic that can be used for a bunch of things. A bubble to hold liquids, home and beauty care products, food and drink containers. The company already has several available products to replace single-use plastic items, and many more products are currently in development. As if creating less plastic to litter our oceans and landscapes isn't enough, seaweed farmed for production also captures carbon 20 times faster than trees. So there's that too. Number 4, plastic-eating enzymes. In 2016, a team of researchers in Japan discovered an enzyme that can decompose or eat plastic in a matter of days, much faster than the hundreds of years that plastic usually takes to decompose. Since then, plastic-eating enzymes have been discovered in ocean and soil samples from at least a dozen countries. Now researchers across the world are in a race to make large-scale commercial use of plastic-eating enzymes a reality. Imagine a day when it may be possible to build industrial-scale facilities where enzymes munch on piles of landfill-bound plastic, or a day when we may be able to spray them on all the plastic that accumulates in rivers and oceans. Number 5, human hair recycled to clean waterways in Belgium. A Belgian nonprofit, the Hair Recycle Project, is using human hair clippings to absorb environmental pollutants from waterways. They collect it from hair salons across the country and turn it into matted squares that can absorb oil. The mats can be placed in drains to soak up pollution in water before it reaches a river, or to deal with pollution from floods or oil spills. Number 6, new reflective streets in Los Angeles. A new project in Los Angeles is cooling down neighborhoods and reducing emissions by painting streets with a reflective coating that helps deflect heat from the sun rather than absorbing it. Check it out. Thermal satellites from the International Space Center show blue and white where these painted streets exist. It stands out against all the red heat it's surrounded by. In 2021, Phoenix piloted a similar program. A study of that project after its first year revealed that roads with reflective coating were up to 12 degrees cooler during the afternoon than those that weren't. And the benefits didn't just affect roads, they made their surroundings cooler too. Now that's cool, literally. Number 7, cleaning up ocean garbage patches. The Ocean Cleanup is a nonprofit that wants to remove 90% of the floating ocean plastic by 2040, including the infamous Great Pacific Garbage Patch between California and Hawaii, swirling twice the size of Texas. To reach that ambitious goal, they've deployed a device nicknamed Jenny, a half-mile-long U-shaped floating barrier pulled by 2 boats that catches even tiny bits of plastic and funnels them into a giant net. The plastic they capture is then recycled into products like sunglasses that are sold to help support the cleanup effort. Number 8, using poop to replace fossil fuels. Like Savi, you may be thrilled to know that the next breakthrough in renewable energy might be poop. Researchers at Brigham Young University have pioneered a technique that's demonstrated the potential of converting animal and human waste into energy that can be used to replace natural gas from fossil fuels. Yeah, they did. I'm not shitting you. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. Number 9, exercising to power your home. An exercise bike that can power your home? Maybe this will be incentive to exercise. UK-based company Energym has released an exercise bicycle with a battery that charges with every pedal. After a workout, the battery can charge your devices all day. The company claims that the average hour-long workout generates enough electricity to charge an iPhone 12 times. Number 10, lab-grown meat. In 2020, lab-grown chicken made its historic debut on the menu of Restaurant 1880 in Singapore. Bao bun with crispy sesame cultured chicken, and crispy maple waffle with cultured chicken to be exact. Now you know that any food with the word crispy is good. Singapore became the first country in the world to approve the sale of lab meat produced from animal cells and grown in bioreactors. And in the summer of 2023, the USDA approved lab-grown chicken from 2 companies to sell their products in the United States. The restaurant Cina Chilcano by famous chef Jose Andres was the first to serve it. Now, more than 70 startups around the world are working to develop lab-grown versions of beef, pork, chicken, lamb, duck, and tuna. Yeah, I know. You're wondering if lab-grown food is really a win. Well, you can decide after you taste it. That's 10, but since we're talking about food, we should probably wash it down with a drink. Devil's Canyon Brewery in California has partnered with a clean tech startup to craft a beer using water from the showers, laundry, and bathroom sinks of a San Francisco apartment block. Doesn't sound so savory at first mention, but they certainly get points for ingenuity. It's just one small example of many of the creative thinking people are capable of in the face of a crisis. Cheers to that. So be inspired, y'all. There's evidence of action being taken to address the climate crisis all around the world. Young people get it. More governments, businesses, and institutions do too. There have been huge advancements in clean energy technologies and so many exciting innovations in sustainability. We already know so many of the solutions to fight the climate crisis. We just have to act on them.